Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Welcome back to Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. Thank you for listening, you little creepers. We love you so much. Hope you enjoyed Tito Ortiz and his proud to be American speeches for you guys. Love that guy to death. Thanks for being on the podcast. This week we're giving you going back to comedians. A friend of mine for a long time. She's from the Seattle comedy scene. We have a lot of mutual friends. We have a lot of mutual business people as far as stand-up comedy. We kind of identify with each other as far as like we're going through the same business together. So we know all the same bookers. We know all the same whatevers. She's a very funny comedian. She opens for Jim Norton, and now she's doing her own thing, headlining all over America. She is a professional foosball player. Yes, you heard me correctly. A professional foosball player, which is exactly where I'm going to go on the first question of this interview, because what foosball? What's happening? Why is that a thing? Who would be into foosball? Anyways, I know you guys are gonna love this episode. If you guys would like to watch this episode, go to patreon.com/Jeff Dye and subscribe. And for $10 a month, you not only get to watch each podcast each week, but you get free tickets to wherever I'm performing live for life, or as long as you're a subscriber. If you're just listening, that's fine. We love you, man, and or women, and we love you. So thank you for listening. It helps a lot if you rate, review, and subscribe to all the podcasts that you enjoy listening to. So wherever you're getting this, don't forget to subscribe and rate. Without any more ado, enjoy my friend and hopefully yours, Kelsey Cook. So excited to have you.
Yeah.
Very, very excited.
I'm happy to be
Seattle, the pride of Seattle. Kelsey Cook, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
so
you.
excited.
Yes.
Newly married.
Yep.
Not newly engaged, newly married.
Yeah.
And then also, since I've seen, it's been a while, but when did you do the Tonight Show?
Oh, year and a half ago?
Year and a half, so not that long.
No, yeah.
It's new enough. We can talk about it.
Sure, yeah. You've done it more recently than me.
Yeah. My second time I did it, like shortly after yours, a few months after yours.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
But I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to have it. I just did your podcast yesterday.
My web series, Race of
Why
Fury.
it's just called a web series.
Because it's video.
Right.
So podcasts, I always assume, just audio, but it's on YouTube as a web series. So I had you on. We played foosball. It was amazing.
Yeah, Mickey Mantle has drinking. Ted Williams has fishing. Mm-hmm. What was Bill DeWire's racquetball? What was his joke?
I don't know, crying himself to sleep or something
some
like
kind
that.
of nonsense like that. Dogs probably is his thing. Brody's was baseball.
Right.
Your thing, which I'm sure everyone talks to you about, but it's new to my audience.
Yeah.
You're a foosball player.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family and I are professional foosball players.
Which is the weirdest thing in the world to me.
I know.
You have to pay to play, don't you? And then hope to win.
Yeah, it's like gambling in that way. You've got an entry fee, and then you hope you do well enough to get it back. But yeah.
And you're kind of buying a nice experience, right? It's like you get to go there.
Yeah.
You see all your foosball friends.
Yeah.
All your foosball enemies.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you play, and you hope that you don't have to face some certain person in a tournament, or that they get bumped out early, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Always during the women's singles event, I always end up having to play my mom.
Oh,
I mean, for sure that failed. Doesn't matter how many people are in the bracket. We always get the draw where it's like her and I right out the gate, and it sucks either way because if I win, then I'm like, well, I just beat my mom.
Yeah, she's gone.
That's sad. But if I lose, and I'm like, fucking mom, god damn it, like it feels bad either way.
Well, how about this? I guess I just don't know. They don't make the girls play the girls. It's like boys play the girls also, right?
It depends
This is
on
a pretty even sport.
Yeah, it depends on the event. So there's lots of different ones. There's like mixed doubles where the team is a guy and a girl versus a guy and a girl. There's women's singles where it's just women, or there's like open singles, open doubles where it's guy or girl.
Yeah, this sport has nothing to do with size advantage or like, weight.
No, I mean, it's tough because there are some dudes who walk up to the table like I mean, I don't know if I want to say roided out, but they are strong. These are like beefcake, just. And,
how could that help?
Well, if you watch it at a certain level of play, if you hit the ball really hard, it's harder to defend because it's going to go faster.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I had no idea. So there's still an advantage.
I mean, strength is an advantage in foosball. Yeah. Definitely. But yeah.
What kind of...
We got to get you roided out, Kelsey Cook.
There you go.
I think that's what I'm missing, just a neck like a tree trunk. Yeah. That'll get me the...
And they're like, whoa, Kels, what have you been doing? She's like, foosball.
Playing to win.
And then you'd have to explain it, just like you're explaining to me that, like, no, strength goes a long ways.
It does, yeah. But it is also a lot of just, like, dexterity. If you miss-hit the ball by a millimeter, it fucks everything up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a small movement sport.
So what do you do in between gameplay? They're like, all right, now this is whatever, or you don't have to play this round because of whatever.
Yeah.
What do? They eat pizza? They drink?
Yeah.
Just hang around?
It's about as white trash as you picture it. They always have like a little food buffet in the tournament room.
Nice.
That's just the standard, chicken strips, pizza. It's very similar to a comedy club.
Or a bowling alley?
Bowling alley, yes. Yeah. Bowling alley food for sure. A lot of people do drink kind of throughout the tournament. I don't do very well drinking and playing.
Okay.
What
about your mom and dad? They drink a little when they play?
My mom might have like a Bud Light at the end of the night, but it's all hand-eye coordination.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're drunk, that's out the window.
Oh, okay.
And so if I try to play with a few drinks in me, it's kind of
you start
insane.
feeding other people drinks just to
Hey, congrats.
Hey, let's have a drink, and you're just like
pre-toast. Yeah, that's actually really smart.
Yeah, I mean that's fun for me on the road. If I'm at a comedy club for the weekend, I will look up in the area to see if there's a bar near the comedy club that has a foosball table and go like hustle drunk frat guys.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the best.
Because you're definitely gonna win every time.
Yeah.
And also drunk frat guys, maybe not anymore, and maybe some drunk frat guys like the Jeff Dye Show. But they famously would underestimate a petite, beautiful blonde.
Thanks. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they'd be like, well, I'll take her. You're like, no,
yeah.
And then it becomes this gimmick if you're good. Like, no, bro, she's fucking good, dude. And then it becomes like a whole thing.
Just a meltdown.
Do you do the white man can't jump hustle where you like play bad at first?
Yes. Yeah, I play bad at first. I spin the rods a bunch. I talk in like a really, just that story. Like, oh my, I've never played before, but I've heard it's really like, is it like checkers? Is it? I don't even know, but it looks like it could be fun. And then once they feel good, then be like, what if we just played for money? Like, what if we just went crazy tonight and just threw some money on the table? Like, went wild. And then, of course, every guy will put their whole wallet on the table. And that's when I bring out, my foosball grip glove.
Yeah, it's just wrapping up the things. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. So that is fun for me. It's
like her
fun.
whole voice changed, and then she just started dunking on us. It's not fun at all. Yeah. I love that. I have to go to one of these.
It's the best people watching you could ever do.
Is it only annual?
No, there are tournaments every month. I mean, every other week. Just they're all over the country. But the big one, I think the best people watching is at the tournament in Vegas every year. It's called the Hall of Fame Foosball Tournament.
Oh,
My mom's in the Hall of Fame of Foosball. No big deal.
Yo.
But that tournament, it's like Vegas is already such great people watching. And then you go to like a ballroom in the back of a hotel in Vegas. That's just
they had to move out all these poker tables.
Yes,
and then
wall-to-wall line with like 100 foosball tables.
Are they all Warrior foosball tables?
It depends. A lot of the times one in Vegas is a tornado table.
Okay.
But they do have Warrior tournaments mostly here in California. But
those are the ones we got to go to. They're local.
Yeah.
Yes,
Drive to a Warriors one.
They have one in Palm Springs. They have one down in San Diego.
Oh, those are pretty far too.
You should bring a camera crew with you to one of these.
We're planning on it.
That's
we're
awesome.
trying to get some more footage of me
Talk
on the
about
road.
pressure, though.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
you
Now I'm
bring a
not beating
whole
up
crew.
on
Yeah, you're not
shitty
just
comics
playing
anymore.
comics. It's easy to be me and Adam Ray, but you gotta go against pros.
But maybe that'll bring the best out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do play differently when I'm playing on Risks of Fury because you know how it is where, like, what's a sport that you're really good at, Jeff? That you feel confident about?
I'm none of them. Yeah, I'm none of them. Well, I guess if I was playing comics or something, baseball.
Yeah, you
or
got
baseball, okay.
yeah,
like
like swing.
Yeah.
So you know that you play better against better people as opposed to if you go and play with people that don't know what they're doing. It almost makes it's like contagious.
Right.
Like you kind of forget how to play.
Yeah.
So sometimes that happens to me at Rissa Fury where I just will start like hacking at the ball and kind of playing.
Yeah, they're making you worse.
Yes, as frantically as and I'm like, shit, I have to remember I'm supposed to look professional doing this. Like I need to actually, I take it so seriously. I'm such a fucking nerd about it.
I love it though, but you're going to you probably already are the most famous foosball person because of your comedy career. But now you have an all things comedy web series where you play foosball. You're going to become the face of this, and then they're just going to pay you to come to Vegas and be like, hey, we're going to have this big tournament. But also, Kelsey Cook is going to be here. And then you're going to have like an appearance fee. I guarantee that's what's going to happen.
Well, a couple of years ago, they did pay me to come perform at the tournament.
Okay.
Like they wanted me to do a comedy set at the end of one of the tournament nights, and never again.
Oh, really?
One of the worst shows, quote unquote shows, I've ever done in my life.
It was in Vegas too, right? So that's already a bad thing.
It's already tough, but like they just tried to turn the tournament room into an atmosphere for comedy.
Yeah.
Just picture 100 foosball tables. People who, when you're just like, hey, there's going to be a comedy show. People are like, cool, no thanks. And just keep playing.
Yes.
So the sound of people loudly playing foosball.
And it is the loudest sport. It's like, or not.
Without question.
One of.
The loudest table sport, like bar sport. Yeah.
And they put like steel plates in the goals.
Yeah.
So it just goes, and the way you guys play, like very rarely does it not make a big noise.
Big sound. Yeah. So, and these are foosball, but they don't know comedy stage, like
give a shit.
etiquette or there's no lighting, like no spotlight. They just turned all the lights off and put this weird purple light on me. So it almost looked like it was Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like I was just telling my jokes as ghost stories.
Yeah.
And it was horrific. Like I basically bombed for 20 straight minutes because my mom was in the crowd.
And a community that you like are in.
Yes. But these are people who have seen me since I was like 7 or 8 years old. And so I think they still see me as this like little girl.
Right.
And I went up there, and as soon as I start doing like any dick jokes, they're like, oh, what? I don't, isn't she 12 still?
Yeah,
and
what?
her mom
She's
is,
seen a dick?
Yeah, seriously, it's that vibe. It's almost like aunts and uncles there. And my mom's in the crowd, and they don't know if my mom's okay with me doing this. It was just very, very tense. And I finished my set to get the money, but I was like, never again.
I'll finish my set to get the money. Which is great. You have a great joke. I believe you did it on the Tonight Show about how they asked you to perform at your high school reunion.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'd rather strip at my high school reunion, right?
I said I'd rather strip at my family reunion.
Oh, yeah, that's a great line.
Thank you.
Which is like, but you dodged that bullet. You're smart enough to dodge the high school reunion, but you didn't think about the foosball one.
No, the foosball came before the high school reunion offer, so I'd learned my lesson at that point.
Yeah.
But, so I think sometimes in comedy, you're in a place where, like, money's money, and you're just like, well, if they're going to pay me and I'm going to be there already, sure. And then, hopefully you do get to a place where you're more financially secure and you can go, you know what? I don't need the trauma.
Oh, yeah. Well, so how many bad shows have we signed up for? Millions.
Oh, millions.
I did one last night, and I was just sitting there going, no, this is going to be a mistake, but I'm already down here, and I'm already 2 comics away from being up.
Yes.
And it was the worst set I've had in years. I knew it was going to be the worst set I had in years, and I still did it out of how bad could it be?
Yeah, it is
we
weird.
do that.
We do that.
Yeah.
I don't know when we'll
Now.
stop doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe never.
There was no money in it for me. I even had to pay for my own drinks, and I still went up and just ate one. And then I just drove home going, God, at least it wasn't as bad as that one guy.
Yes.
There was like
You
one
have
guy.
to,
There was one guy. He's probably committed suicide last night. It was like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yikes. Yeah. We'll have those forever.
That's right. I'll probably do one later on in the month. Probably something. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
How has the road been for you?
It's been good. I mean, I got fortunate to open for Jim Norton on tour for 3 years, and that really helped. I don't know, just getting so many reps.
Yeah.
You get so much better. And then toward the end of touring with him is when I did the Tonight Show and Comedy Central's This Is Not Happening. And as you know, in comedy, it's such a business, and they don't want to book you to headline unless you have a certain amount of TV credits and feel like you can put butts in seats. So fortunately, having those TV credits then helped me transition into headlining. And so that's kind of been the majority of the last like 2 years or so. It's
Nice.
been me headlining, and that's really nice.
Do the Jim Norton people come to your individual shows you headline, or have you felt like you built
Yeah.
kind of your own audience, or a little of both?
It's a little of both. I do still get people who come out that saw me when I had performed with Jim, or people will reach out to me on Instagram and be like, "I saw you with Jim. When are you coming back to like
Nice.
Buffalo or wherever?" But yeah, like never is the answer. I will never know.
Oh, sorry. Can't you come to New York?
Yeah. Oh God, fucking Buffalo. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a mix. I don't know. What do you feel like your demographic is?
Dude, it's all over the map.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad. I think if I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
a group, it would be like, oh, he's going to get real famous with that group.
Yeah.
But it's all over. Because I got like young people who saw me on the internet or YouTube.
Yeah.
And social media. And then I have old people who saw me on Better Late Than Never. And then so I
yeah.
get the gamut at
That's
my
the
shows.
thing. If old people knew how to listen to podcasts, we'd be the number one in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
But old people don't know.
I
how
did
to,
shows
you know.
in Naples at like Off the Hook Comedy Club. And they were the oldest audience.
I'm
And they all
sure.
liked me.
Yeah.
Where I used to perform for old people, they hated me.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm already winning with them. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, he was on our show.
Yeah,
Which
right.
is funny that you said about, so Jeff Zenisek opened for me. Jeff Zenisek is the greatest. Such a good guy. I don't know if you know him,
No.
but he's a big dummy.
Yeah.
And
He likes to throw
he'd be
stuff.
fine me saying
He
that.
likes
He's,
to throw stuff.
the first
Yeah,
time I
that's-
ever met him.
Okay.
I met him in Florida, and he was opening for me at Side Splitters in Tampa. And I'm just trying to get to know him. So I go, what's some stuff you like? He goes, dude, I love throwing stuff.
What?
And I was like, what? No one. I just started laughing. Nobody's ever said something like that to me.
why do you attract these people into
Yeah.
your life?
It's so. I was obsessed with it. I was like, what do you mean? And I just started like laughing while I was driving. He's like, you know, like throwing like a football, like baseball, softball, especially like throwing stuff at people, like snowballs or like, and he's just water balloons. He starts naming this, and this is his real number one hobby that
What?
he said. Like
Yeah.
when
Is
I
this
asked
guy's
him,
Tinder profile?
He's the greatest.
That's his number
he's
one
also like
description.
6 foot, like 8.
Yeah.
He's like a
My
giant.
God.
He's
Yeah.
got long Thorish like hair. He's like the coolest guy. Oh, so at the shows in Naples, the reason I bring up Jeff Z is because he starts plugging his podcast to an audience that's the youngest person in the crowd is like 147 years old. Like that's
Right.
the young, and then he's like, "You guys like podcasts?" And they're all just like looking at him like, "What?"
What's the podcast? Yeah.
And so then he's like, "Well, I'm selling these stickers for my podcast."
no.
Like he was selling stickers for his podcast for like $5.
Oh.
It's very funny to me. But then I started thinking about it, dude. My grandparents loved like radio programs.
I know. It seems like it'd
It's
be.
the same thing.
You
It
would
is.
think that there
They
would be more of a crossover.
loving
Yeah.
these podcasts.
But
I know.
we're asking these old people to click a mouse 3 times, and that's asking a lot.
Yeah,
It involves a computer or a
downloading
phone.
an app.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not gonna happen.
Not the same.
Not gonna happen. My dad's like, "How do I watch it?" I'm like, "Just don't. Don't worry.
Don't even worry about it, man.
Yeah, you're gonna stress yourself
How
out."
do I watch it?
Yeah.
So your demographics kind of all over.
Yeah, all over the place. I get lots of girls and gay guys just because of the way I look.
Okay.
I get a lot of young people from the internet stuff, and then a ton of old people. And
Okay.
so it's really hard to like figure out. Like the comedy clubs are like, we don't know. They're like
Yeah.
watching everyone leave, going, "This is great." And I do like the credit I get for it. So sometimes people are like, "I really like how you speak to
You
a
can,
large."
yeah.
But it's, I think it's better to just have a group. Like
That's
Jim Norton's
tough, right?
crowd, they're creeps, you know?
They're godless animals.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what city we were in. It was like, it's the same group of people
Yeah.
Yeah.
in every state. It didn't matter,
It's
which
like
was
Stanhope's crowd
Yes.
or like Mark
Yeah.
Maron's old crowd.
which was so fun for performing because it was like, these are the least PC people left on the planet.
Yeah, so it's
you can
easy.
say anything. Nobody's going to get tight butthole. It was nice to go in and not have to be like, okay, I don't know if I say this, if these people are on board. Like
Sure.
I knew every time. But yeah, coming out of that, I think my demographic is definitely different from his in certain ways, but like I'm 30, but a lot of my material I think hits well for older people who have been married for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been in it for 7.5 years.
Yeah.
So my relationship jokes, I don't have anything about like dating or dating apps or Tinder. It's more like,
Mature.
dude,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm doing more college gigs now, which is weird.
And they
because
want the Tinder shit.
Yes. I just did it for like a bunch of 18-year-olds in Indiana last weekend. and I look close to their age,
Sure.
but I'm like, oh, I don't know if you guys are gonna know the things I'm talking about. I'm like, when you live in with and I'm like, no, they don't fucking know what they're.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't. But
college is a tough beast because you can't talk about drinking because most of them are like young people who
Right.
they haven't started drinking yet.
right,
And the ones that have been drinking in university, they're not at your show. They're out drinking.
exactly.
The ones that came are like kind of these fresh face, like I just left my parents' house, like I don't really have friends yet, and
Yeah.
they should tell me there's a comedy show,
Oh,
and so I'm
well,
gonna go.
they learned a lot from me. They got a good sex ed course from me.
That's
I
hilarious.
checked beforehand. I was like, are there language restrictions? Because some of the colleges are very,
Yeah.
conservative. And this one was like, nope, like no
They're
language
like, don't
restrictions.
say the F word. I'm like, faggot? And they're like, no,
what are you
but don't say
talking
that
about?
either. Like,
Oh my God, how many F words do you know? Yeah, no, they were they told me they're like, we're very liberal. And I was like, okay, well,
here it comes.
here it comes. Buckle up. You gave me the green light. So anyway, yeah.
College kids are so tricky. I remember because I think I also look closer to their age, especially
Right.
when I was doing a lot of colleges. Like I was like 23 or 24. But I remember saying things recently at a college where I was like, you guys know, this is before the internet. And I watched and I shouldn't have said that. Because the second I said that, they're like looking around like, what does he mean before the?
That's so
And
funny.
then I was like, I was like trying to like wiggle out of it, and then I just like kind of like doubled down. I was like, this is this is when Netflix would send you DVDs in the mail. I just started like just trying to bury the
yeah,
idea.
do you guys know Blockbuster?
But
Have you
they
heard of?
must know there was no smartphones or like,
I
they're like,
get.
why didn't you just take an Uber out of there? You're like, well, Mr. Know-It-All, there was no Ubers.
Yeah.
They must know, but they didn't live it.
They
Like
don't
they
recognize
don't
it.
actually have any sort of real life experience to pull from and relate
I
to.
guess. You're like, when was Uber invented? And the young person's like, I don't know, like the 60s?
Yeah.
Like, because
Oh,
it
no.
wasn't in their thing, they
Yeah.
don't really know. It's
Yeah.
the weirdest.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, comedy. Comedy's a strange thing. Building your audience.
So when I went to your house to put makeup on my face,
Oh yes.
we
Let's
did
get into
a
that.
fun makeup thing. On your wall, you had this like really cool artwork that you bought, and one was of Greg Giraldo,
Yeah.
and one is of Joan Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
One
And
of those
Patrice
people
O'Neill.
I love, and the other person is Joan Rivers. I love Patrice too. That's right. You have
Yes,
the 3,
mhm.
and that's mostly because I don't know anything about Joan Rivers, and I'm also not a huge fan of like mean comedy. And she was kind of like ornery and mean.
Right.
That was like
Henri.
her thing, you know.
Yeah, very sassy.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's not really my style, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, let me clarify, because Patrice is ornery and mean, and can be
sure
ornery,
is,
and
yeah.
Greg Giraldo's ornery and mean, but I want to specify, she would make fun of, like, people's clothes and stuff. She had, like, fashion police. That's the Joan Rivers I know.
Right.
Where she was like, ugh, so-and-so should lose weight, and that's an ugly blue dress, and so that I don't identify with.
Got you. Okay.
I'm fine with if she's, making fun of things, but like
Right.
if she was making fun of like dresses and shit that I don't care about.
or if it's like on a roast and like you're on a
right,
dais.
then I love that.
Right.
Right, like Amy Schumer, big fan. I love all
Yes.
that. Or Nikki Glaser, for example. But what is it about Joan Rivers that you liked, or did you just buy that artwork, or is she really one of your favorite comedians?
Oh, I mean, I liked her. I didn't follow her career like
Right.
intensely or anything like that. But I got that artwork from Cobb's Comedy Club in San
Oh, cool.
Francisco. Great artist who makes them, and I just loved the quote on her picture that he had done so much, which is the thing is, I'm happiest when I'm on stage, and that just resonated with me, and I'm sure it resonates with you too.
Absolutely,
That like,
yeah.
and even if you're having a shitty day, if you get on stage and it's a great crowd, it's like, oh man,
Absolutely.
you can't top that feeling.
Which why they have so much trouble getting me off stage.
We have to close.
They keep lighting me, and I'm like, oh, that's more of a suggestion for me. I take the light
I
as a
need this,
suggestion.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Is like, I'd sleep up there if they let me.
Oh my god,
I'm like,
yeah.
everyone's listening to me, and I'm getting attention. This is so
the
fun for
best.
me. Yeah, I can't not. Okay, so then who is your favorite comedian currently, or was?
Oh man. I don't even know anymore. I feel like before I did comedy and I was just a fan,
Yeah.
I had very specific people, and now I think because we're so in it,
Yeah.
I see people all the time that I'm like, oh my god, I love them, I love them, I love
Sure.
them. Chad Daniels is one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
Dan Cummins. Honestly, anytime I watch Adam Ray, I like die laughing.
Really?
He's so
It's fun,
funny
yeah.
to me. So goofy, so hilarious. Rachel Feinstein.
Okay.
I love Nikki. I feel like Sam Morril, Mark Normand, and Joe List are like 3 of the strongest New York.
It's a lot of New York guys. Yeah, you made almost all New York people except Adam Ray.
Yeah, I guess. And Dan and Chad are like in their own.
Yeah, they just
live,
are
kind
like
of
live in the
Midwest.
woods.
Yeah. They're like they're living their best lives. That's a great way to do it. Who else?
Where does Dan live?
He lives up in Idaho,
Okay.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah,
he did the LA thing for a while, and then his podcast, shout out to Time Suck, it's an incredible podcast, is doing so well that he was like, I don't need to do this LA thing if I don't want to. So he lives in an actual normal place and flies out and does comedy every weekend and then records his podcast.
There's a few comics that have been able to do that. I'm trying to think. It was Chad Daniels is definitely one of them because he wanted to be a good dad and he just like forget this industry. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And then he just is so funny that it works.
Funny.
And if he went for the road, he can. We have airports in every major city.
Yeah.
Josh Blue did the same thing. He was like, I don't know how much acting work I'm gonna get with cerebral palsy. So he's like, I'll just stay in Denver, smoke weed, and like get paid heaps to do comedy shows when I want. Yeah. And then Dan, of course, for that example, that's crazy. I wouldn't even attempt that. I'm like too nervous to try that.
I know it's really tough.
I feel like I'd get one call and I'd have like FOMO. Like they'd be like, "Hey, we might have a thing for you. Can you get to LA?" And I'm like, "I can't."
I know.
And then I would feel like I'd regret that forever.
But you're already so ingrained in like TV here. It wouldn't make sense for you to not live here. You've got to get set up. And
I like it here.
You like it here, so yeah.
Yeah. And there's nobody single in Idaho.
They've been married since they were 14. So
yeah, exactly. I can't be like that's the thing. Like you go to some of these small towns, I already have trouble like finding someone to like hang out with and get a drink with.
Yes.
Let alone if I was the single guy in their town.
Yeah, I think you're like underestimating Silverwood, man.
Oh yeah, where's Silverwood?
God, I love Silverwood.
Where is that?
I've been getting nostalgic for Silverwood lately because it's summer. Have you never been to Silverwood?
No.
Theme park
in Idaho.
I've never heard of that.
It's the best.
Really?
It's the best. You should go.
Silverwood.
Silverwood.
What is it? What's it like? Wild Waves?
Kinda. They have a water park, but they have roller coasters. They have like wood roller coasters, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
They have a lot of things made of wood. I heard that the Tacoma dome's made of wood. Is that true?
I don't know.
That's what someone told me this weekend.
Could be.
Makes
Who
sense.
knows? I'm learning all about Tacoma all weekend.
I know the roof, like the ceiling, like has the wood things on there.
Okay, maybe that's what they meant.
Yeah.
I got the last few months I've gotten in a lot of stadium trivia. Like I'm like upset. Like what was the first dome? What was the first retractable roof? What was the first, all that shit. And I learned that all the things I thought were wrong. I don't know what I've tried to guess it, and then I thought that I knew, but the internet wins every single time. Kelsey Cook.
What's this next segment?
That was a hell of a transition right there.
I don't know. I was rambling about stadiums.
One of the best in the
people
biz.
were probably listening. Oh, Jeff, you're talking about the same shit. Mascots, stadiums, dogs. What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
All right. Marriage.
Yes.
Should I do it?
Are you asking me if you should?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Well, that might be a good place to start. I mean, you and I aren't like close, but from what I've learned of you over the years, you don't sound like a real big marriage guy.
I'm not. Yeah, but am I missing out on something?
I think you should make it whatever you want it to be, which is what Kane and I have done. So people now, it's like, I think there's these long traditional ideas of marriage that don't work for a lot of people. And so it scares people. But it's like, if you love somebody and you want to make that commitment to them, then
you
go
create
for
your
it,
own rules.
But you make your own rules. Yeah. So Kane and I have an open relationship but that's not something we've always had, but we've been together for a long time. And I think it's kind of normal to year by year, you're changing, you're growing, especially because we were together all through our 20s, where you're changing so much. I just think that marriage can be a lot less scary if you decide what works for you as a couple.
Yeah.
So you might get married if that's something that you talk about with your future wife and you're like, hey,
just seems scary.
Yeah. Well, it scared the shit out of me too.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I was really afraid always of that idea of like, if you get married, that's it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense to me. You've never lived like that.
Right.
Up until that point, you've dated lots of people, you've met lots of people, had lots of experiences. Why at a certain point would you go, okay, now for the next 50 years, I will never experience anybody else ever again?
Right. I'm going to get rid of all those things.
That
and
feels
try
like a
this
punishment.
new thing. Yes, it feels like hell on earth, if I'm
It's-
being candid.
Yeah. It sounds like a recipe for resentment.
Right.
And we don't do that. Like I'm trying to work on it on stage right now, which is being met with very, a lot of tight buttholes, especially if
Yeah,
there's
sure.
couples in the
Sure,
crowd.
sure.
They don't want me to bring up
You're
this.
basically saying what they've done is ignorant and foolish and insane.
Well, and it might, I feel like a lot of couples have experienced cheating in some form. And so it's like me bringing that up might touch on somebody's
Sure.
whatever
100%
past.
of companies or 100% of couples have dealt with a form of cheating,
Yeah.
Yes.
whether they got caught or not.
Right.
Even if it just counts as like, especially DMs. Like,
Sure, yeah.
how many couples are comfortable with just being, all right, I'm going to switch your guys' phones, unlock each other's phones,
Right.
and let's go
Yeah.
through this.
Right.
Which means if they're uncomfortable with that, then there is some level of guilt or some
Right.
sort of level of fear of that means they know they've crossed that line.
Right.
Otherwise, they'd be fine switching it because
Right.
they go, oh, I didn't cross any lines that I think are unethical. So
Yes.
they're already thinking they're unethical. Then you're
Exactly.
saying, hey, this is a little weird. And then they're going, that triggers that feeling.
It's so much. So yeah, I do think there's been some level of indiscretion probably with most every couple out there, whether it is, like you said, some sort of DM conversation
Yeah.
on Instagram to full-blown somebody, cheated
Yeah.
and fucked somebody else or whatever. It's like an emotional cheating, whatever. But I think if you have an arrangement with somebody where it's like, look, if you feel the need to do something like that at some point, just be safe, and I don't want to know about it.
Yeah. I had this conversation with Nikki Glazer. It's the exact same conversation.
Yeah.
And she's like, if he's on the road and needs to get like his dick sucked, like, I'm okay. Fine. Do what you got to do.
Right.
But if we're home
exactly.
and like you're leaving
Exactly.
like to go out on a date with, like, forget it. No, I'm with,
Exactly.
no, there's totally different.
Yeah.
And that's like her boundary.
Right. And
Right.
that's same with Kane and I, where that's kind of part of our ground rules is
Yeah.
like, as long as it doesn't affect like the time you have for me
Right.
and like the amount of love you have for me. If you're leaving me to go do things with somebody else when you could be
Taking
spending time
me
with
out
me,
or like home. Yeah.
then that feels a little like, okay, something's not right there. But I think you just have to make it what works for you. Because for me, it's that reverse psychology of like, if you tell me I can't do something,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be dying to do it.
Right. Or at least thinking about it
Thinking about
or
it all the
obsessing
time,
about
yes.
it. Yeah.
But as soon as it's on the table, it's kind of like it's not even really that big of a deal anymore.
Right.
So that's what works for us. Also, we don't tell each other about it. I know
Right.
couples who have an open thing where they're like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with this person.
Yeah.
I'll be back in the morning. We're like, I don't want to know about it.
That's smart too. Yeah. Because then it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not looking to like make each other jealous. We don't like get off on that. There's no like cuckolding element to it. It's more just like knowing that as much of like a committed relationship as we have, we're still our own people also. And that never stops. That should never stop, I think, when you have a relationship.
There's a couple in Denver that I met. They're the greatest.
Mhm.
And he was telling me like how they're in a open relationship. He's like, but I'm a big guy and she's hot. Her opportunity, we're in
Yeah.
open relationship, but her opportunities are way more than mine. She could have sex 10 times in a day. She's very, very hot. I don't get as many opportunities. So like we're in a relationship, but I almost want to tell her like, hey, when you get to like 10, you got to let me catch up. You have to wait. You have to wait
That's
and then like
great.
let me catch up.
That's so funny.
I got
Kane
him-
jokes about that too.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to win.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, I think, just the typical like guy girl of, I think guys are more likely to be aggressive and go hit on a girl
Yes.
as opposed to women going out of their way maybe to go pursue a guy.
Right.
And Kane is trying to kind of work on a joke about how how sleazy am I going to look to sit down at a bar and with my wedding ring on, be hitting on a girl? And when she's like, aren't you married? Yeah, but we have an open thing. But my wife doesn't want me to talk about it with her. But trust me, we have an open thing. Like, how much does he sound like he's lying there?
Taylor girls are going to believe that.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Do you still have the podcast with Taylor Thomason and
Delaney Fisher?
Delaney
I
Fisher?
do. Self-helpless.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, every week.
So I did it once, and I wasn't a very good guest. Felt like I was like under fire, because like me and Taylor have this like we're like the yin to the yang.
Yeah,
she's all like therapy and like romanticizes about being depressed, and I'm like all happy go lucky, and then like always talking about like just don't be sad, and then she's like that's not advice, it's not good advice.
Right.
But so that's why it was bad. I didn't get to like be myself. I felt like on guard.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like
I
on
thought
guard.
You were great.
Oh, that's nice of you. I felt like on guard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But don't you think it's weird that you gals are like young, and then you're giving advice to it's like the blind leading the blind.
Well,
so like we have to listen to them. They're beautiful and they're on television. You're like, no, they don't know.
We don't claim to be experts, but that's what the podcast is. It's 3 type A comedians who are always trying to improve themselves and always trying to learn, going through the process of learning on a podcast. Like going and doing the research and then sharing what we've learned.
Right.
So we never come on as like, hi, I'm a certified nutritionist.
Yeah, and of course.
I'm definitely not. We just talk about like, hey, when we tried this cleanse, it did crazy things to our butthole. So maybe, maybe you don't want to try it.
But I've heard like girls ask you guys about like, hey, my friend, and then like Delaney or someone will be like, well, it sounds like she's not a real friend. You're like, that's such cliche advice. And like,
well, sometimes the emails we get, it's very clear that it's like, oh, well, that isn't a good friend.
Right.
But half the time, I think if you write into a podcast looking for advice, you kind of already know what the answer is, but you just need a
someone to say it.
Party to say, hey, I think you should maybe cut ties with this person.
Cut ties? That's weird advice.
Well, that's not always the case.
Right.
Sometimes we'll read an email and be like, I think you guys should maybe try couples counseling or whatever, try and work this out. But sometimes we've gotten some emails on the podcast that are so, they can be so dark and so sad. And it's like we're amazed that people want to open up to us like that and they trust us.
Yeah, of course. They like you.
Yeah, which is it's a wonderful feeling. If people write in about like experiencing abuse, of course we're gonna be like, get help and get out.
Fight back. That's what I say.
Fight back. J-Lo and enough. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Well, you get weapons and you fight back.
Oh, see, this is why you don't have a self-help podcast, Jeff.
It's just all.
But yeah, it depends. But we definitely don't claim to be like psychiatrists, but. We're also.
It's also fun though, right? Do you like it?
Yeah, we love doing it. It's a really fun podcast.
It's kind of like getting to gossip about people you don't know.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
Also, I'm 30. I'm not 55, but I have learned a lot compared to maybe we've got listeners who are like 18, 20. You sound
smarter than most people I've talked to based on your last maturity about your relationship.
Oh, thank you.
In my opinion. I feel like some people go, well, that's just what you're supposed to do. And you're like, is that really an answer for you? Is that like really an acceptable answer for you?
Yeah.
That's just what you do? Like that's the most ignorant answer.
Who wrote these rules?
Yeah,
people are afraid to, I think, question it. But I know it sounds super hippy-dippy. It's just, have you heard of the show Explained on Netflix?
No.
They kind of do like a deep dive into a bunch of different topics. So they have, it's like a 17-minute episode on monogamy. And it's fascinating. It talks about the root of why marriage started and just kind of the history of where all these things come from that we still do today. And kind of the idea that humans are not biologically meant to be monogamous, but that it's a choice we make for the sake of convenience of like raising a family, all that. And there's this great, I think he was an author. He said, humans can choose to be monogamous the way that humans can choose to be vegan, but that's not going to make bacon stop smelling good. Right. I was like, oh, that's a
great argument.
Such a great quote. It's the same thing. It's like you can absolutely choose to have a monogamous relationship. And I have chosen to have monogamous relationships. But that does not make you stop being attracted to other people to varying degrees. It doesn't make it any easier.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like crazy to me. Like, and I've talked about this before. that like people sometimes will look at me and they'll listen to me, or they hear the way I joke, or hear the way I engage with my friends, or just see my lifestyle, and they go, "Oh, that guy just wants to be single because so he can have sex with as many people as he wants." It's not that.
Yeah.
It's the liberation, like my freedom. That's what I like. I like the idea. Every time I've had a girlfriend, I don't like that luminous feeling of like, oh, I should probably call her. I haven't talked to her for this long, and I'm in a different city. She's probably wondering what I'm doing. I should probably check in and tell her I love her. And it feels like an errand. It feels like this chore. Like, if I don't go back to my hotel room and FaceTime for a little while, I'm going to be in trouble tomorrow. And I don't like that. I like to be able to just sleep in till 1 if I want and not have to worry. I can disappear for 5 days, or I can like go somewhere. I can just go on a trip and not have to tell anyone. And that's what I enjoy about it.
Okay. Have all of your relationships been like that, where you feel that the girl needs kind of that constant?
Maybe I'm projecting on them, but like I do get in trouble every time I don't talk to them for like a day. They're like, where have you been? Like even girls I've just like dated casually.
Right.
They're like, you didn't text me for like 24 hours. And I was like, yeah, I was fucking doing stuff. Hanging out. Like I had comedy and like fucking I was on a flight. They can't call on a flight.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna call you in an Uber. Like that's rude. I don't want to.
Tough.
That's what I like, is the freedom to just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah. I think that's hard. With dating, I would think that there is kind of a little bit more leniency of it being more casual and there not being so many rules and structures. But I do think once you get into like a committed relationship, I know at least for me, I do feel, well, I mean, Kane and I live together, so it's different. It's like I do physically see him every day. But if I'm on the road, I do like to at least like get a text from each other, you know, once a day, or be able to talk on the phone once a day. Like you said, sometimes I'm running around and it's not easy to actually sit down and have a phone call. But it's hard. I think it's tough to find a girl that is as comfortable with the comic lifestyle, with you being gone all the time.
Tough lifestyle to swallow.
And also probably a lot of dudes too. I'm grateful that Kane is also a comedian, because I've said before, if I had been dating like a dental hygienist and I was gone constantly, I think a lot of dudes are like, hey, I just wish that my girlfriend was home. I wish that we could just hang out.
Which makes sense if you have like a really long hour job. It's nice to come home to someone. I've lived with, and it really felt good. I was like, oh, this is a really nice feeling.
Yeah.
No, I would get excited for my drive home, like, oh, she's going to be
They're there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
And I get that feeling. I understand that there's perks to that side of it also. But me, I just like the freedom. I just like to be able to do what Jeff does.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
in
what
the
I
third
like.
person.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Jeff does what Jeff does.
Yeah, I could like be gone for like a week, and the only person that would be harassing me is like my manager. Or like, like maybe a couple of my friends would be like, "Hey, you cool, dude?" Like that's it. There's no like, I'm not in trouble for disappearing.
Right.
People are more
tough.
concerned than when I'm missing.
Yeah,
And
I think
that's why I like
is
friendship.
tough.
That's why I like the Jeff Dies Friendship podcast, where I say like friends are my family, or my family is who I've chose to make my friends.
Right.
Because I think that's the truest relationship that I've ever had that's unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like every other relationship I've had, which are great and passionate and fun and whatever, they're very conditional. Mm-hmm. It's under the condition that I don't follow girls on Instagram, or that I am not looking at porn, or that I'm communicating every emotion, or I maybe introduce her a certain way to friend. Like there's all these like conditions.
Sure.
Whereas like friendship, like if I hang out with Tony all day, I don't have to like hide it from Randy.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? I just enjoyed Tony, and we hung out and did cool stuff. And tomorrow maybe me and Randy will. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll hang out with Tony again.
Right.
And so that feels very unconditional. Like I can screw up and be
I've
like,
been meaning to talk to you about how much time you're spending with Randy.
yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah. What's the deal?
And so for me, I don't know. I don't, and also I don't like the feeling of being kept. I feel like that feels very needy.
So you would want an open thing.
If I was going to be in a relationship, I'd prefer an open relationship.
And you'd be okay
sexually.
on your end in terms of jealousy and stuff like that with them doing stuff.
I would have to come to that.
Sure.
And probably that's why I've never done it. Because right now, just it's a double standard. Like I don't want her to, but I want to.
Right.
And it's because I'm like, otherwise, then what are we doing?
But you know, it can't be like
we're
that.
both being single. Kind of already in a bunch of open relationships right now, you know?
Right.
So, Yeah, but I would have to come to those terms, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the mature look at it. Like, of course she gets to.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Well, that's why we don't talk about it with one another, because that would be painful and hard to hear. I think there's still such a human emotion there of like feeling, I hate to say ownership, but because you're married or you're so close with somebody, you feel like some sort of entitlement.
Yeah.
But they, that logically they should be allowed to have a life and do 100%. Other things.
I think I'd be like you guys. Like, I just wouldn't want to know.
You just don't want to know. Yeah.
Just keep away from me. Don't flaunt.
Use discretion. Yeah.
What would happen if somebody you saw that you had recently hooked up with and then run into you and Kane like at a thing? Would you go, oh, that was from a long time ago? Like, would you lie about it?
We
like if he like was like, who's that guy? And you're like, oh, years ago. Like, but he's a pal. Don't worry about it. As opposed to like, would you be like, oh yeah, like 3 weekends ago down in Santa Barbara?
Oh, I would never say anything like that. That would like knowingly hurt him.
Right.
But we went to a wedding.
You would have to have like you have access to dishonesty. I think that would like help me. I'd need you to be like, please just lie.
It's more like cruel to be kind. Like, like, which I guess is the premise of if you're not going to share that information with one another, you are in a way like not being dishonest, but you're just not including them in that information, knowing that it would be hurtful to them. And him saying it to me, I wouldn't want to know either. We went to a wedding like a month or so ago, and there were a bunch of my old coworkers there, and there was a guy who we had, I don't know, kind of like a workplace flirtation or whatever. And then at one point toward the end of me working at this place, he had said like, I'm super into you, and I don't fall for people much, and like I really kind of professed these feelings to me. And when we were driving home, Kane was like, that one guy's like, we were kind of talking about who at the wedding, like guys and girls were that we thought were hot or whatever. And he's like, that one guy. Oh, I said, I was like, I think this one guy's really hot. And he's like, what, that guy? He's like, that guy is not hot. He's like, that other guy, that guy looks like Aladdin or whatever. Like even Kane was like, that guy's like really good looking. Right. And I was like, yeah, like that guy actually, he was like into me a few years ago and told me he had these. And Kane was like, what, really? And like, but that's the most I would ever say. And that was also so many years ago that it felt more like,
it was fun. It's a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, kind of.
That's like on like Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry tells his wife, he's like, I think you should let me date women just so that when I come home, we can talk about it.
Because he's something to talk about,
yeah, because it'd be really fun to gossip about. And she's like, Larry, and he's like, no, I think it would. I think it would help our relationship because then we could make fun of these women that I'm taking out.
That's funny.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm really hoping I can find a way to talk about it on stage that doesn't make people get uptight, because the longer you do stand up, the more it feels good to go, oh, this is this personal thing, it's unique to me, I want to talk about it on stage, as opposed to just, we can all still write like generic jokes about observational things, but sometimes it's fun to try and write like personal shit. And that's what
they want. By the way.
Yeah.
Is that audiences crave that. Like the Mitch Hedberg stigma was like Mitch Hedberg, everyone talks about how genius he is. Right. Everyone talks about how he was the best late night performances and the best comedian and he was the best guy and he died too soon. And he was kind of like this Kurt Cobain of stand-up. But the thing that people, if you do a deep dive on Mitch, when people came to Mitch's shows, the first 30 were phenomenal. And then he would struggle in that back 15 because it was just jokes about bananas and jokes about
never personal
escalators and things like that. And they wanted to get to know Mitch. They were falling in love with this man who would tell them nothing about his relationship, tell them nothing about his parents, nothing about his family. Yeah. And so that's why they would start to like give up a little. It's because like, just tell us about you. We love you.
Yeah.
And we want to get to know you. And that I think nowadays would even be worse for him because even more now we demand of like, nowadays nobody can just love a celebrity. They have to be like, why didn't he follow me back on Twitter? You're like, I'm a celebrity.
Right. There's too much
Why
access.
would I follow you back? You're supposed to be my fan.
Yeah. I don't need to do this.
Now we have to like reply to your Instagram messages.
Seems like everything needs to have a message too.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
In stand-up. So it's like without that.
Yeah. Without even getting to know if he's in a relationship or not. So I think that's really key for every single stand-up comedian. Like they want to know.
They want the personal.
They want all that.
But when it's tough when you talk about something that like threatens somebody's idea of marriage or monogamy or whatever. Because when I talk to people about it one-on-one, like just talking to you on this podcast, if I talk to like another comic about it in conversation, and maybe it's just because I'm talking to other comics and we are more like open-minded, but most of the time people go, oh, that's so interesting and I would really like to have that.
Right. They get it.
So I feel like I'm batting 1,000 just in conversation of having a connection with somebody who's like, oh, no, that makes total sense to me. I would like that. Whereas the handful of times I've tried to talk about it on stage and there's mostly couples in the crowd, it's almost like immediately you feel everybody's bodies go like, ugh, like tight butthole, shoulders to their ears. Like, please don't talk about it. Don't give my husband any ideas that he could go fuck somebody else.
We've trained each other perfectly, and you're messing with that. I used to have a whole bit about how I don't like butt stuff. I would never try it. I have no interest in trying it. I don't want to attempt it. No butts for me. And after the show, and it was this really actually strong bit, a little too dirty for what my crowd is into. Yeah. But it always worked and always did well. And afterwards, every girl was like, I was like more sweet to them. They're like, I love you. Like they were like, that was great. And every dude was like, what are you doing? I've been working down that path to try to have sex with her, and you just fucking ruined everything. And not only did she already like you, and that's why we're at this stupid show, but now you've put this in her brain, and then she likes you more.
Another reason to like fall in love with you.
I had to pay for these tickets. I didn't want to be here. And now you've ruined the only thing I've been living for.
The pursuit of butt sex. I've just completely ruined it for everyone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But that might be what you're doing too, a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're more evolved and you found a better way to make this system work. Yeah. And these gals can't handle it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it could have the opposite effect. Could be like, because you're a dude doing it, like, but you're a chick doing it, so it could be dudes in the audience like, see?
But that's the problem. She's having the problem with the women.
If the women in the crowd turn on you, that's fucking rough. Good luck.
That's right.
Because now he doesn't want to laugh. He's like, shit,
Exactly. They always say that about like couples in the crowd. If you can get the woman to laugh, then you're good. Because then the guy's laughing, everybody's good. But like a lot of time, a guy will turn to his chick.
He doesn't want to
like,
be in trouble the rest of the night.
Is this okay? Can I laugh about this? Is this okay?
Yeah.
So, and usually my material has never been like only for women, only for men.
Right. It's just about you.
It's just in general. So I feel like fortunately I haven't, isolated anybody, but with this material, it is hard. So I don't know, maybe I just need to keep it about like me. Like this is what
that's the best way to do it.
This is what works for me, as opposed to making anybody feel like I'm telling you what
I had a marriage bit that's actually, it works most of the time. I think it works better with like old crowds.
Yeah, comedy and magic crowds.
Yeah, who are like, they're not so touchy about that kind of stuff. Or maybe the relationships are just so far along that they're able to hear the like, oh, take my wife kind of humor.
Yes.
They're fine with that. They've heard that their whole lives, as opposed to young people like, what? What do you mean take my wife? Like that's kind of like that kind of shit.
Yes.
But I've had to sometimes stop and tell audiences, I'm only talking about my perspective. This is not, I'm not projecting this onto you.
Does that help you?
It does help. And then I go, and then I also kind of self-deprecate by going, this is Jeff time. This is all about Jeff. Everything I say is selfish, just so you know. This is my hour. This isn't about you.
Right.
But I think it helps to remind them, like, different things work for different people.
Yeah.
Like, just because comedy saved my life doesn't mean I go to everyone going, you got to try stand-up. You got to try stand-up.
Please
stand-up
don't. That'd be the fucking worst.
Exactly, yeah. But people do that with marriage. They say, oh, I really like marriage, and I'm really happy in my marriage. You should try marriage. And
you should have kids.
But
I love having kids.
Why are you putting that on me? That's what you enjoy.
Right.
Yeah, I like stupid toys and baseball cards. That doesn't mean you should get stupid toys and baseball cards. I'm just telling you about my thing.
Yeah.
And I've tried to always communicate that to audiences, that I'm just talking for me. This isn't all of us.
Yeah. I'm glad we talked about it on this podcast, because now I'm going to have a different perspective trying the joke on stage and just making it more about me and not
want
like
it to be about you anyway.
Yeah.
Your husband is very, very, very funny.
Yeah, he is. He's incredible.
So funny.
Yeah.
Kane Holloway.
Kane Holloway. Yeah.
Holloway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look him up. He's a handsome guy too. I always talk about that. I think it makes him uncomfortable.
I think
he has like perfect skin.
Doesn't he?
He has,
He's
like, this
a
weird-
vampire.
Yeah.
Not like pale though, but like he doesn't have a pore on his face.
Yeah.
And he doesn't wash his face, no lotion, anything. It's just like
And as a gal who does
blessed.
makeup tutorials and stuff, you must be like, how'd you get
I
this?
hate it. I hate it. I've struggled with acne my whole life. I mean, I guess like not when I was
And
5 years
Kane's
old. but
never even
puberty.
heard of acne.
No, he has It doesn't have to do a damn thing. I could like dunk his face in like melted Red Lobster butter and nothing would happen. Literally nothing would happen to his face. It'd probably make it look better.
It's
but
amazing. Yeah, every time I see him, I'm always kind of like staring at him a little, like just going like, look at that face. Because
he's a beautiful man. He's like
Yeah.
Jason Statham. Like he's like shaved bald now, but
Yeah.
he's got great bone structure, great skin.
When
Beautiful man.
my face goes through stages. When I first wake up, my eyes are all puffy because I drink too much and it's like pale. And then like in the
Right.
midday, it's like, oh, that's not bad. And then I'll like go to work out and I'm all sweat. Like I have like 75 faces. There's like a bunch of faces. Kane, I'm always like looking at his face. Like, hey, he's got one face.
It's like faces of meth, faces
Always
of
a
Jeff.
good face.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm a Jeff amphetamine. All right. Final question.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
We ask all our guests this when I remember.
Yeah.
That's
Which is
the problem.
so not
which
always.
has been 8 out of 10. I'd
And
say.
you've been reminding me.
Yeah, I try to keep you
when-
honest.
Okay. Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
What happens when we die?
Oh, boy. You really go from a light banter to
Yeah.
deep.
Well, there's no wrong answer. And there's no right answer, technically.
Well, obviously I don't know because nobody knows, but I hope that I get to see all my pets again.
Oh,
That's
that's
what
a
I
good
hope.
one. How many
Yeah.
pets have you had?
So many.
Makes it sound like you're flying through pets. It sounded like a red flag.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like too many. No, I mean, growing up, it was that we always had like 2 dogs and
Oh, nice.
4 cats and a chinchilla and a guinea pig.
You
and
got cats now, too.
Yes, we have 3 cats.
3 cats.
So that's always been like the MO in my house. It's just
Really?
like many, many pets. And I love them so much. I mean, to the point where I don't know that I want to have kids because I'm like, I don't know if I can love something more than I
Right.
love these cats. And so, yeah, to me, anytime I've lost a pet over the years, it's really so devastating. And the idea that I could like be in a place that would be like heaven to me.
A
Just
bunch of pets.
to be somewhere and I walk up and like every pet I've ever had is there. Oh,
And they don't poop or nothing
they
because
don't
it's
poop
heaven.
or nothing. They don't poop or nothing. Jeff.
Yeah, and they just kind of like always like snuggly and they get along with each other. There's
Yeah.
no like, and then one of them runs away. Like, no, they all get along.
Yeah. So I don't know what happens, but that would be pretty cool.
That's ideal.
That's a good answer.
I actually like that a lot.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? How does everyone get on the Kelsey Cook train?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Kelsey Cook Comedy. Twitter's at Kelsey Cook. Website is kelseycook.com for tour dates. My podcast is called The Self-Helpless Podcast. It's on iTunes, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And then my foosball web series.
Yes.
Jeff has been on both of these things. My foosball web series is called Wrists of Fury. It's on YouTube. Just search Wrists of Fury. Jeff's episode is going to be coming out soon. We just shot it yesterday.
It's super fun, and also it's made me like foosball. I'm so excited.
Well, you have a table.
I know, because that's the thing. Is like, what if I did a piano podcast and I fall in love with piano and be like, shit, I gotta go buy a piano table. But I have a foosball table in my house that I never use. And then I did your foosball web series.
Yes.
And then I'm like, hey, I can go home and play this. This is really fun.
You should have. I mean, I'm not telling you how to like live your social life in your own home, but like you should have a little comics tournament or
I will.
something here.
Yeah, that's a
It'd be
good
so
idea.
fun.
The winner plays you. You've already get to be the champ.
I'm just already in the king stage.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Mortal Kombat tournament. Like Shao
Yeah.
Kahn didn't have to fight anyone. He's just at the end. You're the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love that. I think that'd be so fun.
That'd be a fun idea.
Especially now, just like invite the people who have already done the show who are
Yeah.
like all into
and it'd
it
be
now.
an easy thing to coordinate if we did it like on
Yeah.
a weekday because all the comics would be in town and become a
Yeah.
thing. But then we could get all things comedy and maybe shoot it.
Yes.
And just like, just not,
Still a
it wouldn't be
party.
a little video for their website.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Tony, anything to plug, that big dog?
Just you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at I am Tony Reavis and see what I'm up to there.
Kelsey, will you come back?
Of course. This is so fun.
I want to hear about how you started comedy and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. I love you. You're
Love
the
you
best.
too. Thanks for having me.
Friendship.
Episode 73 in the books with Kelsey Cook. Thank you, All Things Comedy, for having us. Thank you, Patreon. All you people that subscribe to our Patreon, you Patreon subscribers, we love you to death. You made all this possible. You've made it possible for us to even make it sound a little better. Hopefully everyone's recognizing that it sounds a little better this week and last week. If you're not a Patreon subscriber and you'd like to watch this podcast instead of listen to it, go to patreon.com/JeffDye, and for a small fee every month, you get to listen to and watch our podcast before anyone else, and you also get free tickets to all of my stand-up comedy shows. We love you guys. Join us next week when we have comedian Tim Dillon. Just moved to LA from New York City. Very, very funny guy. You guys are going to love him. Join us next week. Bye, y'all. Leave that part in.